What's going on, YouTubes? Time for the recap. And man, for this week, there is data, and more data. Jolts tomorrow, PPI jobs, CPI, inflation data Friday, you name it. So if there was one week that could scare the market into the 200s a little farther, it'd be this week, right? So we have a couple trade plans. We're watching into the NQ futures open and the SPY. We'll get into both of those. We did stream a live yesterday, Friday, 5 p.m. for the open. Had a couple predictions we'll cover here quickly as well. So if you want to see that video on how we break that stuff down live and trade it, she's on there. So we have a over under outlook per the usual. Okay. So I want to go to SPY here. I'm going to show you guys how we set up. And we're going to do that high-low fib like always on the prior day. And for Monday here, we fibbed out, obviously, Friday. And notice we opened and we got stuck right there at the 200 EMA daily. That comes in at the lightly dashed fuchsia line here. And we didn't even get a 100 EMA retest. My chat knows exactly what to watch for tomorrow for that bad guy. So a no GP tag happened, okay? So once in a while on the daily chart, or any candle really, which whatever trade you're planning for, we'll get candles that develop a full open close, right? And then the next candle doesn't hit the half candle retrace or the golden pocket. So again, when you draw a Fibonacci from the high low of a candle, just like so, you notice the next trade days never came into the golden pocket between the 38.20 and 61.8, which means we only have one over under to work with when that happens. Okay. So I high-low fibbed Friday. And the open today for Monday, we had that open here, popped up, did not hit the golden pocket, also shied the 100 EMA, and obviously shined that 200, led us to break to the over-under. This over-under right here, 565.63, this was the one I called for the chat. And I said, guys, once this loses, it's going down to the 1618. So you see the price action confirmation right here. Gets stuck under view app, rides down, very ugly chop scalps, pushes back up after it breaks her over-under, rejects again, and down she goes to the target. Now, let's move to the chart I had on for today. And this is how I got the predictions before for my chat. So I got out of my chat. Here's yesterday's lows. And I put hold above the 10 SMA 1 minute long back to the 100 fib back test. And this was the last long we called here out of the gate. So I said long this push. It was on the 1 minute chart. And I said, hold on to your buckets because we're going to ride this 10 SMA up even if it loops. And it's going to come up to the 100, which is right here. So if you put a trend line right there at that 100, we had a 5 minute high-low breakdown with no GP tag, right? At the open. It ended up coming back down through GP, broke outside of the range, and then we came to this 1618 area. We shied the 2618. Now I seen this very aggressive, about 7 candle move back up, and I'm like, okay, that's it. We're gonna wait for that 10 SMA confirmation, and as long as you hold here, we're gonna go up to 566.35. So I called a 2-to-1 from the 1618. Just look for that recovery and push. You were gonna come up to here. It was gonna be about 20 points. We got 15. Oh no, we were at the 10 SMA. I lied. We were at the 10 SMA, this higher low right here, where I said this is your first long entry. As before we get off the chat, into there's the 20. That's what we called. So 20.05, and then the stop out range down here was about 10 points. So I labeled the stop out range. I made where the stop out range was going to be watched for that stop out, and then I put this note for the class, and I said hold above 10 SMA 1 minute, 200 fib back test 566. Here's 566. And that was it. So I called this last long before we left, and it did pretty well. So it gave out that 15 to 20 point move. And then I said, guys, after this, you're only going to come down to the 1618 from the gold level because there's no GP. If you see my secondary note I put on for the class here at 10 a.m. in the morning, in Central, best case short target for the day, we made a big old channel for it. That is the 588.34. So like I said, if it stayed under yesterday's lows, let the long happen, hit, and then go for the shaboom to the downside. And this is what we called for the best case scenario short. So we stayed out of this 5, hit 1618, 2618, 423.60. And then, of course, we hit the daily's high-low. So again, the gold, remember here, all those gold fibs, that's yesterday, Friday's high-low pointed to the downside. When yesterday's lows does not become support to move back to the GP, right? we noticed the floor break of yesterday's lows, the back test of yesterday's lows, and the continuation right to the 1618. Okay. So that was a really good short and long process we called out at 10 a.m. So I got off stream right here at about 10:10, and that's where all these notes came from. So I like to see that it played out. That's very nice. And if you missed the live futures trading for this short as well, last night we had explained. You can go to last night's live. It's on the channel here. If you want to see the breakdown, we scalped some really good moves out of the gate here, but we went with a gap and go to the downside. And what I said was if 2020 here, drops off this gold level, you're going to see continued weakness. We put two price targets down here, 19,880, 19,820, and we talked a lot about why those GPs from the 15 right here were going to be targets from yesterday's lows. And as long as we started slicing through those fibs, right, staying under the 2618, go check out the video. This explains it better. 1618, 2618, 4, right? So as we see the walk down on those fib breaks, we were just walking them down to the targets of these white dashed lines that we had, right? So again, broke the gold level, perfect back test through the Fibonacci level. This is 1618 crack, right? Goes to first target, bounces, comes to here, cracks the 100, comes to second target. So a nice little walkthrough, and then we obviously got lots more, and we called that off the QQQ, but I do want to just mention that we did have a short plan here for the opportunity here on NQ to see this thing kind of die off and head back. Now, all the algo traders here, note that you do got a gap right here on the 1 minute. You should have this one charted off, so this is going to be yet another gap above us for when the bounce comes flying back. It's going to be amazing. So make sure you chart that out. Last but not least, we'll touch on SPY real fast. Got to click in there about 6 times there on the MacBook. There we go. We're going to start back for the prediction. All right. So we're going to go to the weekly. All right. What's left for the prediction here? Well, we started a pretty heavy weekly downside. And if you watched our prediction videos, we had a couple different targets to the downside, one including the gap that we had just filled here. We talked about this gap 3-4 different times on video and on live, where we come up with a lot of this stuff, 59943. We also have the huge GP no tag below this, and this is still another really big candle that needs a back test before bounce. It was candle 911. So these are very interesting candles. And when Fibonacci does its walkthrough, remember the back test. So this candle fib out 911 up, walked to the 1618, 2618, 423, lost 423, walked itself to 2618, 1618, 100, stopped dead in its tracks at the 100 because of the gap fill mainly. So we did have that gap fill right here that we did need. We talked about that one. If we continue under the 200, we will continue to the gap fill. It's part of our live breakdown. We called it on Saturday. So as we now see the bottom here, what are a couple scenarios that can happen? Well, there's a very interesting candle here, and it has a lot to do with the straight line, right? This candle hits both 200 moving averages, the SMA and the EMA. That's the daily, obviously. This candle to the downside Fibonacci is what stopped us and gave us that short target, right? As we talked about for the day, anything under the lows will net to the extension Fibonacci 1618. So when we back that up a little bit, you're going to see a very interesting correlation with the golden pocket of 911 and that 2618. Now, what's the timing? Are all these tariffs and all these trade wars and everything else just going to keep on keeping on to that downside? Well, you're going to have to figure that out, because every single day we come in here, we have a good metric to utilize an over-under. So what we want to see here is if we get extreme weakness where there's more panic under 555, we will finally hit the GP of 911 under 555, and we're going to head down to that 548. Obviously the lower pocket as well, filling up the no GP tag that we had from 911. Now, we do have obvious gaps lower than this and GP targets lower than this, but I think we got to bounce eventually here. So I'm going to call no lower than 545 to 547 if that's the lower bounce point, if we don't bounce this one right now at 555. So there's only two options here for the long term. It's going to bounce here for a little bit, and we could actually put in a pretty good candle. And this is, again, going to be an insane week because of the data. Tomorrow starts JOLTS, and then if that's the catalyst that rips this thing back up, well, just be mindful, because we do have this 55550 support on the 911 candle. Now, that doesn't mean this is going to start reverse and go back to highs. I think we're just going to start the temporary bounce to get to the lower high to come back down to 548 and then whatever happens after that. But right now we are just waiting for the bottom. Controlled selling under this 10 SMA looks really good to whenever it wants to hit that support, she's going to jerk back up. But now the candles are just giving us very clean entries and back test targets for those longs. So I really like when candles like this. And if you watch our candle video on how to pick candles using Fibonacci, again, one of our Saturday classes about 2 weeks ago, very informative. Check those out. The high-low right here, this candle is very unique because of the moving average tags and then obviously cleared house to that 1618. Now, the 555 is very strong here for support. So if we actually open up lows here and start to crack, I would be extremely surprised and we would need, some kind of catalyst to do so. So if Jolts is the catalyst tomorrow, that kind of snaps this back up. We're going to start looking for the golden pocket of 3.7 here. And don't forget, a lot of our analysis came from 3.3's candle back here. And we've been making videos about 3.3 for about 4 days straight. I just want to throw this one on here and say, hey guys, don't forget about him because he is also in the midst of the break here. So on the way down, he hit the 1618. That's how we longed the bottom Friday. Monday right here, it cooked through the 1618. Now we're heading towards potential 2618. But of course, we have Friday's candle to deal with first because nothing goes in a straight line. These things take time. So as we start to move back down from those highs, generally straight in, we're going to look over under that 55550, okay? And now we opened, or closed rather, really, really, really low. And then you see that fear that came in right at that 55559. That's the 911 top candle. Well, a couple of things are left open here. We don't have any 1 minutes, I don't think, do we? We filled that 1 minute gap? Yeah, okay, 1 minute gap. So a couple of the imbalances here that we see in my world for no Fibonacci tags, I'm going to go to that 15 and right away the opening candle shows itself. So we're going to use the opening candle that hit that 200 EMA daily. That'll also give you a really good relative fib. We also have one on the bottom, and we're going to cover that in a second. But once or if this resistance starts to play out in pre-market, okay, this time I'm going to have to use these pre-market here before we go over most of the futures markets that open. When these tickers open up 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I'll wake up, start using these. If it starts to gain over at 2618, we're going to start heading back up right away, and it's going to be pending data. So just in case we go flat, you're not going to be able to trade it. You're going to have to wait for the giant data candle. Then we're going to fib the data candle high-low. Then we will watch. But if we do start to get over this in before data and cook back up, there's a good chance that we'll come to some of these Fibonacci points before returning. If the market really wants to express weakness, come down really low under yesterday's close, failing 1618 and 2618s all the way down from daily to intraday, right? And start walking towards that gap. Well, Jolts would be the one to do it, right? CPI after that. And again, we're just going to have day after day after day after big data. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is I think I'm going to film the data and kind of how we play the data too for a little bit of a pre-market. So tune in for my members a little bit live early tomorrow. I think we're going to do that. I think that sounds like a good idea. We do have the Jolts at 7:30 to normal, right? Or is that a 9 a.m. one? Unlike CPI, that is a 9 a.m. one. Okay. So I'm actually going to record it live for you guys for a little bit of a recap. So what I'll do is 9 a.m. Central Time, Jolts comes out. We're going to get an intraday candle, and I'll show you exactly how we play that intraday candle wherever we end up. So look for that video tomorrow. So if you want to watch me trade this stuff live and do what we do every single day to get these targets and how we predict this stuff, or at least attempt to, links in the description. It's the first little thing in the description. So if you guys want to come join us, awesome. We do give away a Top Step account every single weekend. 2 was let out last week. So if you like the video, this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we give out more on Friday. But this time, I completely forgot to give away our Top Step on our live. So we're going to do 2 accounts myself. So we're going to do 2 50K accounts on Top Step coming up this Saturday, because our last live stream on Sunday, we got so into the trading and the P&Ls and the breakdowns. By the time I had to leave, I totally forgot about the giveaway. And nobody said anything until I just remembered later on today. And I was like, oh my goodness. So now we're giving out to double the accounts. So we're going to be giving out 2 Top Step accounts coming up the weekend. Comment on any video this week, today all the way to Friday. We'll be giving it out Saturday, 2 accounts from me. And I will see you then. If you want to stick tuned in, subscribe, like, get those alerts on. If you want to trade with us, links in the description. The next free YouTube video, please comment on it if you want me to cover anything on YouTube. I have no problem grabbing anybody's ideas, making shorts or videos for you for any examples you need. All right, until next time, trade safe. We'll see you then.